Hey y'all, this is Tasha. We are back with another review of Married at First Sight, y'all. Ooh! Tonight's episode, honey. Finally, let's get into it, y'all. Let's go. Y'all know. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know what to do. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Season 13, episode 10, Locked Out. Not I've been locked up. She been locked out. Don't let her in. Yo, let's get into the episode, okay? Because I got a lot of notes, a lot of stuff we got to go over, and I don't want this to be terribly long. But I know I say that every time, and it's still long, but it's a lot to talk about. All right. So we opened the episode on day 23 of marriage. Brett and Ryan are cooking breakfast together. Rachel is shuffling Jose out the door to go to work, and Bao and Johnny are doing morning yoga while Gil watches Mirla do some online shopping from her phone, which she loves to do. We then see Michaela and Zach. So Zach is at the gym working out with one of his friends, basically catching up with how things are going. He says that, after dinner, so when we saw them in the last episode going out to a restaurant having dinner, he said later that night they were supposed to have a movie night together. He decided to go back home. He's supposed to go get his Apple TV and then come back so they can, watch the movie or whatever. So then he's like, well, once I got home, it was a little late. So I called Michaela and was like, I'm just going to stay here because I think that's much better. And I am giving Zach the serious side eye. I was giving it to him before, but now even much so because I'm like, so Zach, I don't know how far you live from the apartment, but you know how far you live. And if you was feeling a little tired already, maybe you shouldn't have made the trek from the apartment to your house, and no, you probably couldn't make it back from your house to the apartment if you was going to be too tired. Then for him to do this when he now knows this is the type of thing that's going to set her off and make her upset, but yet he still did it. So I feel like he was testing Michaela to see if she was going to have the same reaction. And I don't like you for doing that, Zach. I don't like it one bit. That's a little bit of gaslighting. You just tapping on her button to see what she's gonna do, and then when she gives you the reaction that you're looking for, you then gonna cry and be upset about it. Zachary, don't like it, okay? But anyway, he says that she responded well. She did not blow up, and he thinks that they're making progress because of that. And I'm like, okay, Zach, if you say so, but we're not gonna keep ignoring how you ignite some of these arguments as well, sir. Okay? We're not going to keep doing that. So this episode is basically the Dr. Viviana episode where she comes in and she starts doing her rounds with the couples. So she comes to visit Brent and Ryan to discuss intimacy, of course, because that's what she does. She talks about their connection, and Brent says, he is the most affectionate man that she's been with. And I'm like, girl, have all your other men been mannequins or something? Like, how is anybody else more affectionate? Well, how is he more affectionate than anybody else? It must be the bare minimum that satisfies Brent, because, girl, we don't see this. She asks if they've seen each other naked, and of course not, because he really don't like her like that. He basically says, he doesn't want to do anything that can be interpreted deeper by her, since we know that she is feeling him a lot more than he is feeling her. And honestly, I can respect him for that, of not taking things to the next level, because as a man, he can and he knows that she would be down for it because she does like him. But I do respect him for at least putting up that boundary so that her feelings and emotions cannot get misconstrued of him liking her more than he really does by him maybe kissing, rubbing, sexing, all that stuff with her. So I don't got nothing to say about Ryan doing that. But he further explains that he thinks he's hit a spot and he hasn't shared it with her because he's still waiting for this magical fairy tale Tinkerbell feeling to just appear out of anywhere. And I'm like, Ryan, get your head out the clouds. This is reality, sir. And if you do want to have your head in the clouds, what are you doing to help advocate that type of atmosphere in your house, or to make the butterflies come in your stomach? Are you doing anything to promote the caterpillars turning into butterflies? I don't know. But basically, Brent starts to cry, and she says that she's been here before, being with someone that isn't sure about her, and basically she does not want to be there again, and I don't blame her, and I really hate this for her, that she's having to go through this. Ryan tries to defend himself and says that I haven't said anything negative about you. I'm just waiting for the feeling. And I'm like, but what have you said positive to feed into her as well, Ryan? Dr. Viviana asks Ryan to break down his feelings a bit more, and at this point he says he's a bit more comfortable with him doing it with Brent outside of the room, so she leaves and it's just the two of them. But he says he's stuck, and he talks with her. Oh, sorry, no, I already said that, y'all. He then says she's high stress and high anxiety, and he is even killed. And since being with her, it's been even more heightened because he feels that he has to calm everything down. Now, y'all, I probably said this about 3, 4, 5 reviews at this point, that I am tired of him putting these labels on her. We have only heard or seen her have any type of situation on the plane and the little boat ride thing that they had on the honeymoon. That's the only situations that we've seen. And he continues to put this label on her of her being high stress and high anxiety. And I hate it. I absolutely hate that he attaches these negative words to her every chance that he's done it in front of the other couples. He's done it in front of the experts. He's done it in front of his friends. It's like he just keeps doing it over and over again. And Ryan, you trying me, okay? I'm tired of it. And if I just have to say, if I'm waiting for him to say he wants to feel this feeling one more time, I'm going to pull my hair out. And then Dr. Viviana actually ends up calling him out about it. And she's like, I think you're living kind of in a fantasy. Like, what you're thinking is like Hollywood. And I'm like, 1,000%. Nobody's just going to come home from work, rip your shirt off, throw you up against the wall, and y'all just start making out. That don't happen in real life, Ryan. Cut it out. Dr. Viviana then goes to Zach and Michaela to talk about trust and intimacy. Michaela says that her trust level is out of 50% because her feelings have been hurt because of Zach's lack of follow through. He says that they aren't good with understanding each other, and when asked about trust, he said it depends on how you define trust. Here's Zach go again with these words and definitions and explanations and bees under the trees and all this other bullshit he be talking about. He says he believes her if she says she's going to do something, but she's done some things that he doesn't like, so he doesn't know if he can trust her not to blow up. Oh, God. We have to keep hearing about her blowing up over in OMG, Zach. OMG. He says that basically every situation has permanently scarred him. And although she has attempted to forgive and forget, he continues to get a little bit elevated. And even when he said permanently scarred, Dr. Viviana was like me, like, permanently scarred? Was it that serious, Zach? Stop it. But he kills me because he tries to always blame his reactions on her. And yes, she does share blame. But you have to be accountable for your own actions, sir. Nobody can make you do things that you don't innately want to do. And if that is the case, you have more growing up to do to be able to control your own emotions, sir. Okay? Dr. Viviana says that his lack of commitment, that this shows a lack of commitment, and he basically gives up when anything does not kind of fall into this fairy tale that he thinks marriage should be. Zach says that he isn't saying, that, handling things her way is right or wrong, or handling things my way is right or wrong. There's just a difference. And I'm like, no, sir, that's exactly what you're saying, is that how she's doing it is wrong and what you're doing is right. Let's call a spade, okay? Dr. V asks what he means, and he says he doesn't do knee-jerk reactions. And Michaela says that they have done counseling, and she has not done anything since then. So obviously, since they had these confrontations and disagreements, they've done some additional counseling. I'm not sure with the experts or what, but off camera that we have not seen. So it shows that she's, again, actively trying to work on herself. But Zach just can't let anything go. Like, he just holds this knee-jerk reaction over her, and like she said, he acts like it defines her completely, who she is, and like she can't change. And when you put that on someone, it makes them not want to change, because then they don't see the effort or the benefit in changing, because you're still going to see them as the exact same person. Zach, make it make sense. But he continues to say he doesn't think it'll go away. And he basically, he didn't ask for this. He didn't ask to be married to somebody that knee-jerk reaction is a hothead. I'm like, but when she says she was jealous, you thought that was all hot and steamy, right? Okay. But anyway, Zach continues to act like a child. And honestly, they don't need to be together. If he can't let something like this go, when y'all have a bigger disagreement or when y'all start having children, what do you think is going to happen? It's not that arguments necessarily get worse, but you have to know how to reserve conflict and communicate and deal with it and move on. You can't continue to harp on the same situation, because then you know what? Every argument is going to turn into, you're going to turn one thing that y'all are having a disagreement about into the last 10 things that y'all dealt with over the past 10 years of your marriage. And nobody wants to hear all that every time. Zach, grow up. And I need him to really take accountability for himself, because in this moment with the two of them, you can see him getting hot-headed and elevated. And I'm like, if you want to call her out every time she does it, call yourself out when you do it as well, sir. He says he hasn't been perfect in the marriage, and when asked, and he says no when Dr. V asks him, and she's like, well, why are you expecting her to be? And I'm like, bingo, you want her to fall in line with your expectations, but sir, your behavior plays a role in this. And I think you and some other people just continue to omit that your behavior is playing a role in this. Did Michaela kind of jump off the cliff? Absolutely, but it was not for no reason. Okay, he continues to be in comments and on whatever the other show that comes on saying that he told her X, Y, and Z, but this never comes up. If he's telling her these things, he's not saying it then when they're addressing it back again. He's not saying, but I told you, but I said this and you said that. We're not seeing that, Zach. So I mean, I know editing can be shady on this show, but I'm like, for it to not sneak through one time yet, I don't know, sir. I don't know. But Dr. V wants them to give each other cushions and boundaries to figure out where they are and really how to identify triggers with each other. Zach essentially still looks defeated, and he, kind of shakes his head like he hears Dr. V, but I really don't have much faith that this is going to turn anything around for them. She ends up leaving. Zach goes and sit at the dining room table. He drops some F-bombs. He starts to cry, and then claims, I don't know what I did to get here. I don't want nobody feeling beat down. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, Zach, you do know. Stop playing with us. Stop playing with me, sir. Do you hear me? Stop playing, because you know exactly why she is acting the way that she is feeling. And you are trying to act like I just haven't done anything wrong. I don't know why she feels this way. Child, he just so heartbroken at this point. He said he can't talk about it. He gets up. She even tries to touch him at some point, and he like, don't touch me. He gets up and leaves and goes to the other room. She's just left at the table, and he just continues to curse. And I'm like, child, until he turns 35 or get some therapy. Get him off my TV, because I'm about tired of him. He cute and all, but I am sick of his shenanigans at this point. Jose and Rachel, they're answering some questions given to them by the experts to discuss the big and small things. He asks what is something she was embarrassed to tell him, and she brings up the cheating, but says she's grown from it, of course. Gil and Mirla, they're doing the same thing, and he asks how she has changed over the past 5 years, and she said that she's more understanding and patient, and Gil is like, more patient? Wow, okay. Johnny then asks Bao about her biggest insecurity, and she says she feels like she needs to do it all. And he says that he feels like he isn't living really a purposeful life, and he just plays it safe most of the time. Bao then asks what was the biggest event that happened to make you feel embarrassed or shame. And she talks about growing up being poor. And we've heard this story a couple times from her at this point, but she gives us a little bit more detail about how she would get off the bus at school and she would walk past her house because she didn't want the other kids to know where she lived. She then says that her dad kind of developed a reputation around town because he was drinking, and then he was a bit of an instigator. So while she had friends, the parents of her friends would not let them come over to her house because they felt that, of course, her dad being there, the bad influence, that she really didn't grow up with her friends, coming around like that. So I was like, damn, Val, it's just, That's tough, man. But they hug, and I'm clapping because I'm happy they survived a tough conversation, and they went all the way through instead of just shutting down. So kudos. Jose and Rachel then get a visit from Dr. Viviana, and Rachel's like, we're so happy. Jose is like, we're so happy, and we're just happy, 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 happy. You guys have done a great job. And I'm like, again, y'all keep lying to us or yourselves or both, whichever you doing. I don't know at this point. Dr. V asks him about sex, and they both get awkward as if they don't even know what sex is at this point. And I'm like, cut it out. Y'all are grown people. But also, I'm like, Dr. Viviana, get out their business. We don't care, and we don't want to know what little 5'2" Jose is doing with Rachel, okay? Dr. Viviana then asks about trust, and Rachel, of course, I 100% trust him. And Jose says, we're on the same page, and he really doesn't put a number to it. And I'm like, girl, that means he don't trust you all the way. Keep your eye on him, okay? But they basically continue to just, hold hands. He always has to hold her hand and put it in his lap. And, they just look at each other like they just love each other so much. And I am just so tired of them putting on this front for the cameras, the experts, their families, their friends, the other couples. It is just all so fake. Like, guys, we see right through it, and we will see that we were all right towards the end of the episode. We then see Michaela and Britt. They get together for coffee because they both need some girl time. Britt says that since the visit with Dr. V, Ryan has went home, and he hasn't done anything to show that he actually cares or like her. And I'm like, we already knew that. Michaela shares that things did spiral a bit after Dr. V left, but they were trying to do better. And Britt says that, if I was just dating Ryan, I would have been out of here. And I'm like, you still can be out of here. Mirla and Gil are next up from a visit from Dr. Viviana, and Mirla says that their emotional intimacy is a 7, and Gil says that it is an 8, and they have grown a lot in a short period of time, and I am just side-eyeing the both of them. Dr. Viviana asks about physical intimacy, and Mirla says, oh, that's also a 7 because I'm satisfied with where we are. This whole lack of physical intimacy is cool with me, and it's what I expect, so I'm down with it. And Gil is like, it is a 5. It could be better. I wish it was more. But at this point, they're 3 weeks in, still no kiss. He says that he believes that she thinks sex and kissing is the same thing. And she says it is because I just don't kiss random strangers. And Gil is like, I'm just not a random stranger. And I'm just saying, he's not a random stranger anymore, girl. You've been sleeping in the bed with this man for 3 weeks now. He's not a random stranger. Stop it. But she says she just needs to get connected with him a little bit more. And again, I'm like, we are not asking you to put your tongue down his throat to touch the dangly thing that hang in the back of his throat. We're not asking you to do that, ma'am. A peck on the lips can go a long way. A long way, Mirla. Cut it out. Basically, Gil says that her words really hold no substance because she constantly says that she likes him, wants a future with him, wants kids with him, but yet she can't even kiss the man. I don't blame him. It's like, how we gonna do all this? You gonna be like Mary? I mean, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? But Mirla basically is like, because they talk about him saying that the no kissing was going to definitely be grounds for divorce for him. And Mirla's like, I don't even want divorce to be an option. And I'm like, well, give the man a kiss. He's only asking for a kiss. But they basically, end their scene with Dr. V that way. It is now day 25 of marriage, and Bao and Johnny meet with Dr. V, and she's impressed with how they've been handling everything. Because, of course, they talk, they see what's going on from behind the scenes. She asks if they put each other through tests, and Johnny says, yeah, I kind of just put her through a test this morning with making the bed. We were supposed to be making the bed together, and basically she just ends up giving him directions while she's still getting ready. She gives him directions on how to make the bed up, and he ends up just making it up by himself, basically. She says she doesn't feel she's good at reading signals for romance, and then Bao just blurts out, we had sex. And Bao said it was intense, and I'm like, girl, give us more details. How was it intense? We want to know. But at the same time, Dr. Viviana don't ask him a whole bunch of questions. But at the same time, ask them because we want to know. How was it intense? Because Johnny said he just like vanilla sex. What was going on? But Johnny says the first few times he just wanted to be in that thing. But Bao says, I think, as we continue to explore, we can, try some different things. And she's like, I think if we can, do it every day, every other day, that will work. And I'm like, bow, bow, bow. She is ready to get it in, okay? We then see Michaela and Zach. They go to a family friend of his house that has a pool, since he said that Michaela loved to swim. And of course, we know she wasn't able to do those things with him during the honeymoon. And he has a cute little setup in the backyard with their chocolate covered strawberries, wine. They get in and start swimming and talking. Michaela does share a little bit more about her dad and says that she sees some things in Zach that she's seeing her dad, and thanks him for being open. And I'm like, child, has he just been open in the past 30 minutes? Because the last scene, we didn't see him being open, but okay. They do the project from the experts where they have to write down some questions for each other, and then they do some blindfolding and take turn answering questions. He asks what was the first thing that attracted her to him, and she says his face, because we know Zach is easy on the eyes. He's cute in the face now. He starts a sentence with, I'm sorry for, and she has to finish it, and she says, I'm sorry for the knee-jerk reactions. And I'm like, thank you, Michaela. So hopefully this can be the last we talk about these knee-jerk reactions, sis. Jesus, I'm tired of hearing about it. But she wished that, she says that she wants to be able to express herself sooner in the future. He asks if she could change one thing about him. She says it would be him holding on to grudges, and he acts like he's shocked. And I'm like, sir, stop. Stop. She says that she misses the happy person that he was and wants him to get back to that. So now it's Zach's turn. He says that he thinks he most needs from her is understanding. He finally acknowledges the work that she has started to do on herself and appreciates it. Michaela asks if she likes him, and he says yes. But she was like, I wasn't sure if you did. And then he goes on a tangent of, how do you mean you don't think I liked you? I liked you from the wedding, and what have I done to make you not like? Zach, you know what all these answers are. Stop asking questions that you know the answer to already, Zach. Stop it. We then see Brent cooking dinner. Ryan eventually comes in along with that cute little furry dog. And Brent is definitely more happy to see the dog than she is him. And I can't blame her. She says that, she isn't giving up, but it's hard, when you're feeling the feelings and somebody isn't feeling the same feelings that you are. And from the flashback, it looks like that they showed us that Ryan has not been at the apartment in the past 2 days because he said he needed time to figure out how he felt. So now that he's back, supposedly he feels better. And I'm like, so in a matter of 2 days, you feel better about somebody that you've now known for a little over 3 weeks? What made you feel better? What happened when you were alone? I need a little bit more clarity there. But he says now he doesn't feel defeated. He feels open. He says, if you notice me shutting down and things like that, I need you to call me out for it. And I'm like, for why, Ryan? You don't like this girl. Stop making her do work when you know you don't like her. But on the side note, can Brent go and get these roots touched up? Because this brown roots and red hair, I'm not feeling it. And I need her to go ahead and rectify the situation. But anyway, he says he's ready to continue, and then Brett gets so excited, and I'm like, this was the bare minimum basic confirmation from him, and this just got her all in the feels all over again. Oh boy. Mirla and Gil, they didn't do their activity given by Dr. Viviana, and he's excited, of course, because it's supposed to build intimacy, and the activity is focusing on the senses, and Gil is like, let's get it popping, okay? The first thing that comes up is we got to do body shots. Mirla says, The next is blindfolding Mirla. Mirla says, my lashes. The next is to show him how she wants him to initiate sex. And he's like, we just going to throw this question out the window because that ain't even happening. And Mirla is like, for the third time. Just like, y'all not gonna get anywhere, okay? Oh my God. But then they find a car and they have to find a comfortable cuddle position and then match each other breaths for the next 3 minutes to sync with each other. So they do this. They get done. She says she feels more relaxed. And then they have to do another activity where they touch foreheads and they have to say what they love about being with the other person, what they need, and what they are challenged by. So Mirla goes first, and she says that she loves waking up next to him. She says that she needs his continued patience, and she is challenged by his patience. Gil says that he loves her compassion. He says that he needs desire, and he says that he is challenged by her lack of intimacy. And I'm like, I've seen this before, but it stood out in this moment. And I just feel like Mirla does not really dig deep when it comes to discussions and questions and communication and things like that. I feel like she just stays very surface and basic with her responses, while Gil really does try to take things more seriously and gives really thoughtful, real, true answers. And I just don't know, not saying that her answers are fake, but they're just sitting here, and it's hard to really get anything when you're being so surface like that. We did see Jose. He comes on by himself, and he says that tonight has not been a good night. They were at the little clubhouse at the apartment, and they were just relaxing, and says that she calls him another man's name. We then flash back to the footage of him going off. He is cursing, telling her F you, get the F out. And I'm like, sir, this ain't even your house. How you gonna tell her get out and pack her stuff and leave? Okay, but this ain't your house. But y'all, I feel like since the very beginning, I kept saying something is not right about Jose. It's just something about him, other than him grabbing her neck to kiss all the time. Something about him did not sit well with me. And this is showing me that, you know, the minute fairy tales and rainbows was not the way it was in his mind anymore, he was going to blow up. But he continues. It's like a producer is sitting there, I believe. He's like cutting up something. And then he even mentions about to, like, he should throw something at her. And I'm like, what? Excuse me, sir? Excuse me. Okay. But he just keeps going on and on and on, telling her, get out, go, do what you got to do. And I'm like, really, Jose? Really? So I just wanted Rachel really in this moment to be like, deuces, I'll send somebody to get my stuff. Have a good life. Like, this was your out, girl. You should have used it as your opportunity to completely leave. And everybody who had smoke for Michaela saying she cursed Zach out for saying like 2 cuss words, please have more smoke for Jose, who literally cursed her out. Okay? That's what I need y'all to do for me. So we then see Brent and Ryan go to a tantric sex class with 2 instructors to help with intimacy. And this is supposedly the experts' way of trying to help them to open up. And I hate when the experts do this, especially with 2 people that are really not on the same page and not feeling each other 100% like that, because they did the same thing with Miles and Karen from that New Orleans season, and it didn't work. So I'm like, just let them move at their own pace, especially when you guys already know one person is feeling the other person more. Like, that's just going to make it even more awkward. But anyway, they set their intention as having better communication, and they start with the senses and start with sound and taste, which is very awkward for them because, again, they're just not there to really enjoy this practice. They then start with touch, and it looks like nothing is phasing Ryan at this point. They ask each other what they like, and he says, you know, I like your eyes, and I like that you're nice. And she's like, and I like your beard. And I'm like, y'all are talking. I would say this to a stranger. And I mean a stranger like at Target. Like, your eyes are pretty. Your beard looks not to somebody I've been married to and sleeping with for the past 3 weeks. Not sleeping with sex, just sleeping with. But okay. But he says he wants things to progress. He wants to trust to communicate more. And again, Brent is like, we're making great progress because he's said that he'll do the bare minimum. Yay. We then see little Tarzan Jose with Rachel acting like he didn't just act a fool the night before, and we didn't see that footage. He puts this smirk on his face while he's cooking, like he has done nothing wrong. And basically, this is going to be his attempt to make Rachel look like the bad guy and the crazy one while he comes out scot-free. Not going to work, Jose. So Rachel asks if the way he expressed his unhappiness was okay with how he, went off about her calling him another man's name. And he says, apparently not. And I'm like, apparently not. You knew you was way out of line, Jose. Cut it out. But she says she doesn't trust him. And he's like, same. And I'm like, you just want to be tit for tat with her. And she said, I called him another man's name. I immediately apologized. And I'm like, dude, she did not even know you 3 weeks ago. It's not like y'all were in the middle of banging it out and she called you somebody else's name. Stop it, Jose. You are being a little, y'all know the word. But she says that he locked her out, and we see another flashback the night before of her just knocking on the door. He does not come to the door. We see her go to, I believe it was Mirla and Gil's apartment. We then see her go to Brent and Ryan's apartment at 1 a.m. She's knocking because she just left to walk out a friend or the producer or whoever and didn't take anything with her. So he knew that she was coming back, but he just wanted to be a little petty Betty. And she was basically trying to figure out how I'm going to get back in. They didn't tell us, like, if he eventually came to the door, she had to sleep somewhere else. I don't know what happened. But he's like, yeah, because I like to secure my property before I go to bed. And I'm like, but without your wife in the house, who I know you look at as property, Jose, that's what you're going to play us with right now? And again, this little smirk is on his face the whole time. And y'all, it is driving me up a wall. Like, I want to reach through my TV and smack the shit out of him because the smirk is driving me nuts at this point. It's like he has this sort of smile, stupid look so that, again, she can look like the bad guy and he can look like, what? I didn't do anything. When we know, Jose, you showed your ass completely the night before. But she says she does not feel he's remorseful or apologetic, and she just cannot be his wife. And he says, okay, makes sense. That's good. And she says she's going to pack her things, and he proceeds to just eat and says, well, if you need help, let me know. There's some boxes in the hallway. Petit LaBelle. The producer then comes out and asks, you're not going to fight for your marriage. And he's like, no, she's made up her mind. And basically, if, she wants to work this out or something, she needs to come back and apologize to me. All while, doing his hands and being real feminine like Jose likes to be. And I'm like, sir, you ain't cute enough for all of this, okay? This little man just tears my nerves up. She then comes back into the room because she's like, there's some other things I want to say. And I hate having discussions. And then I have things I wanted to say and I didn't say. And I'm like, girl, every woman feels like that after an argument. They like, dang, I should have said this. I should have said that. I should have said this. And we don't. But you can't go back and do a do-over because that's just going to make things worse. But she does come back and he's still, eating and messing around in the kitchen. And she's like, no, I need you to look me in the eye because I need to know that you were actually listening to me and hearing me. So he does. And she pulls out her phone and says that, it's some things that's been building over the past couple of weeks. It wasn't just this one thing that kind of pushed her over the edge. And I'm like, I knew it. Y'all were putting on the front for everybody the whole time. The whole time. She starts reading out kind of what she's put in the notes app on her phone that she said she wrote 2 weeks ago. And Rachel was spot on. She says that basically he already had their life planned out together for them. The house, the bank accounts, the cars, etc. And I'm like, yes, he did. She thinks he's controlling, and she says that is a deal breaker for her, and she does not fit the perfect mold that he wanted as a wife. All 100% true. I called it, y'all. We called this. And then he gets upset. He's trying to figure out, how we've been happy for almost a month. And, now you're bringing up all this stuff. And I'm like, because both of y'all have been faking this the whole time. We saw right through it. I don't understand. I guess the sex was good. I don't know. But this should not be new information, Jose. She says that he hasn't taken accountability for anything. And he hasn't because everything that she's saying is correct. And in this moment, like his eyes just look real evil. And I'm just like, whatever stepmama was kind of hinting about, we are now seeing the other side of Jose very clear. And basically, he can't hide that, behind, these big pearly white teeth that he wants to show us every 5 minutes. The facade is over, Jose. Well, it's been over for me, but maybe for everybody else. And I really want him, which I know he won't because he thinks that he's perfect, but I really want him to self-reflect to see if he's given her a safe space to be able to share these things with him, which he hasn't, but he's not going to acknowledge. We didn't see Bao and Johnny get their basket from the experts. And I'm just so excited. They have just been so much more easygoing this episode, and it has served them well. But basically, they get some little outfits, some dice, and some blindfolds. And basically, they have to roll the dice, and whatever the dice say to do, that's what they have to do. And it ends up with leading them to the bedroom, which is happy for the both of them. It is now day 28 of marriage, and the episode is about to wrap up, but the ladies all meet together, minus Michaela, because she isn't feeling well, and they go to one of those rooms where you kind of take one of those sledgehammers and just smash things up to get out all your aggression. We then see all the guys meet up at the driving range, and Jose and Ryan gets a chance to show off, their clubs and everything like that, because they have to come with their own stuff. Rachel starts going in, because we know she's been stressed out the past couple of days, so she definitely need to let out some aggression from dealing with the little man. We then see Bao and Brent, they join in, but of course Mirla's like, I just really don't get down with stuff like this. Is not how I behave to get out my aggression and things, so no, I'm not gonna participate. Gil then shares that he finally got a kiss 2 days ago, and I was like, yay. He said it was not one, but 2 kisses. And I'm like, okay, Mirla, slow down, girl. You might be doing too much. Jose then shares this whole situation with the guys about him and Rachel and says, Rachel wants to get a divorce after, she called me another man's name. And he's trying to be so nonchalant and low-key about it, as if everything was all on her, without sharing his behavior that he did in all this, of why she really wants the divorce. And leaving out, of course, the whole, locking her out until the guy starts asking more. So he says he didn't intentionally lock her out. And I'm like, how you don't intentionally lock your door? Okay, Jose. And as he's telling the story, all the guys are like, something ain't adding up. Like, is this the first time she's called you somebody else's name? Did you call her and communicate to see, where she was or what she was doing? And he basically, has no good answers for the guys. And the guys are just like, something else has had to happen, because from what you saying she did, it does not match. It's not adding up, Jose, at all. But I am so happy to see the guys in this moment calling him out and really being like, this don't make sense, but if this is the story you want to tell us, okay, but this don't make sense. And then we actually see that Ryan busts out and says that Rachel calls him Johnny. At first I thought he was playing, but Jose didn't correct him. So I was like, is he serious? Is this what this whole argument is about, of Rachel calling him Johnny? Because Rachel know deep down inside, Jose want to be with Johnny. Y'all, I could not believe it. Like, Jose. Y'all, I just can't. It's just ridiculous how he just wants to paint himself to be this great guy. You don't share with the guys that you literally cursed her all the way out and then got an attitude about it. Like, you don't want to share any of that, but then you want to bring up again, oh, y'all remember when we was on a boat and she said that she cheated and blah, blah, blah. That does not mean anything at this point, Jose. Stop just trying to find something. But he says that he sent her a text and told her, that same morning, saying that he misses her and he loves her. And she's like, I don't love him no more. And I'm like, because y'all didn't love each other. Cut it out. You don't fall out of love that quick, which is why I knew y'all weren't in love that quick. Cut it out, y'all, too. But this episode had me cackling, y'all. Please let me know y'all thoughts on everything that happened, because it was a lot of moving parts this episode, but it was good. And I really hope Rachel, I know she's going to, but I really don't hope she circles back. Just let the chips fall where they have fallen and move on, okay? Till next week, I'll catch y'all in the next video.